Welcome viewers. Today we are back to my channel again after a month about, and during this period I could not release any audio, and as such it is on the communication second part. Those who have not the view of the first part, they may link it in my YouTube channel. Now friends, I am insisting on again and again about appropriate and proper skillful communication. Why? Because today's age is the age of communication. You know, all the developing countries and developed countries almost every year sending new satellites to the orbit and to the galaxy for collecting information and communication all over the world. So today's age is the communication age, and it's a communication has become a science. So now, though majority part of communication is being engulfed by artificial intelligence, as you know. So therefore, we are very much interested about knowing how to be a perfect communicator, because right communication can take us to the right place, to show us the right way of getting success and perfection, as well as bring harmony, peace amongst everyone, including family, neighbors, friends, offices and everywhere. So therefore we need to understand the perfect communication. Perfect communication depends on basically 4-5 important factors. First thing, the communicator must know that he must have the right vocabulary, right words choice, which is meaningful. Number 2, he must always use his body language, which constitutes 50% of the successful communication. Number 3, his eyes also will speak. Even if we go through the important personality video on speech, we'll find that their eyes speak. Number 3, he must be interested about once and again what subject he is delivering to the viewers. So this is number 3. Number 4, he must be seen to be absorbed and involved what he has been trying to send the communication to the viewers. Viewers must be convinced that okay, this gentleman is trying to convince us by giving certain communication on which he believes. Communicator also should have total control about the contents that he is trying to communicate to. Besides, a communicator has many other responsibilities, which includes like we must be clarity of thinking, clarity of distinct pronunciation, number 1. Number 2 is voice control, proper accent, modulation. This very much matters in the matters of communication. Now, where we use our communication? Communication we use mainly in the family, number 1. Number 2, in the friends and neighboring circle. Number 3, in the office, business, market, industry, legal world, educational world. Educational world means like school to university. Legal world means from the lowest court to the highest court. Everywhere, communication. Those people are assigned to various professions. They have got their basic duties to learn the exact skill of communication. A teacher has to understand what exactly the skill of communication he is required to for the student. A lawyer is to understand that the exact communication which he has to make to the judge, because by his wrong communication a good case even can be lost. So this is the communication process. Now let us first think that what are the areas in which we can improve communication that we have told. But in family, it brings integrity, harmony, appropriate communication, control of students, the children, everybody. Then again, friends, we can create really a jovial atmosphere by right communication, but we have to be very careful that we do not make any wrong communication, because this gives a wrong impression about our personality, about our well-being and everything. So, and neighboring people also, by right communication, we can create a harmonious relationship with us. In the office, there is a kind of a rule. In the factory, there is a kind of a rule. In the courts, in the school, college, university, there are certain rules by which one has to go through communication. So, considering all these sort of things, we now concentrate on another area That is most important. In the online age today, and that will continue. That will continue, and in this online age we are attending online classes, online meetings, online drama, online seminars, etc. So in that case, communication, the communicator has to understand what he should do or he cannot do. A communicator has to understand who are the people with whom he is making the meeting. In the online process, one does not have the body language expression. That no scope is not there. So he has to use his voice, volume, modulation, accent. That is his only property by which he can produce. So these skills are required, and also the content that the communicator must have the total control on that. The communicator also must know that how long to go and where to stop. So these are the areas a public speak when somebody is making that he has to do. Now we can, as an example, we can see certain video clippings of 1 minute each of most renowned people on earth. And we can see how they used to communicate. I refer to the President of USA, Abraham Lincoln, whose historical speech is considered, which is I am trying to show you by a 1 minute clip. Let us listen to how Abraham Lincoln used to communicate to people.
We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it, far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note, nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain. That this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
I am also referring another worldwide important personality in the film industry and known by everybody, Charles Chaplin. In his final speech, in the most famous film he produced, he directed, that was The Great Dictator. The last speech of Great Dictator was, I am producing here for 1 minute video clipping, which you can also see that how communication goes.
Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!
Now, I am also presenting through a video clips an interview of the renowned director Sam Menegal, who is taking the interview of our own internationally acclaimed, famous, our own Satyajit Ray. In the interview, let us see how Satyajit Ray is giving the interview, his eyes, his everything, his pronunciation, his voice, his body language, we can well observe. Let us see.
In the later films, again, sometimes you find that there are obligatory scenes, you know.
Yes.
There is a kind of information.
I think, they arise out of the material, which you cannot help sometimes. Sometimes you have to use the conventional methods, sometimes you can do without them. I don't think that the methods which I used in Opus Shangshar and the other trilogy films, I do not find useful anymore. It's just because of that I have stopped using them. It's just that I've been using different other kinds of material which demand other kinds of treatment.
Was there a kind of autobiographical resonance in these two
Well,
novels?
not in Portrait Panchali, frankly, because I knew hardly anything about village life. I was a city-born and city-bred person, and I didn't know the village at all till the age of 30, 25 or 30. But in the second part, the fact of Opu's adolescence and mother being a widow, mother and son relationship, that can have autobiographical elements in it, certainly, because I was in a similar situation.
Did you identify with Opu?
I suppose one does. One has to, particularly when you deal with a character through 3 films, and right from his childhood to adulthood, you do identify, otherwise there's no getting under the skin of the character.
So my friends, now we have seen their specific body language, meaningful purposes of communication, the pronunciation, the eyes and everything they are using continuously. And therefore, I would like to say that this is the way by which we can develop communication. Anyway, I want to conclude my session right now by saying that I shall be back again for the next part of communication, including written communication also we will discuss. Also another important communication part that has been coming up is the neurocommunication. All which shall be discussed very soon with my next video. Until then, goodbye. Thank you.